Today I am going live with my Thursday live training topic that I go live with every week. And one of the registrants for the free workshop had asked that she would like to know more about selling online because, let's face it, we're moving more and more to online sales in this industry. And so that is what I decided the topic of today's live stream would be about, were tips on how to sell online. Because when I transitioned more to the online space, I must admit that it was a bit of a challenge for me mentally to go online versus selling in person. But my first tip for you is that you have to realize that people are people, whether they're face-to-face with you or whether they're behind a keyboard. And once we remember that we are dealing with human beings with feelings and emotions, no matter how we're connecting with them, it makes the job a little bit easier. So today I'm just going to talk about building connections online. Like, how can you do that? Because it does take a few more touches, and it does take some finesse at building connections when you're doing it behind a keyboard. And why do we even lose sales? Like, what happens to cause us to lose the sales? And I'm going to talk about basically just a simple sales process that you can go through, whether you're online or in person, for selling more policies. So if you're tuning in live today, give me a hashtag live and where you're tuning in from, because I'd really like to chat with you and see how I can serve you better. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay to let me know that you did tune in and catch this. So a little bit about me. I am Andrea Garrettson. I've been a licensed agent for over a decade now. I do have a license in property and casualty, life, health, and accident. While I haven't sold much property and casualty, I've sold everything else. I started out in the life insurance business back in 2009 and transitioned over to final expense. Then I went more into the employee benefit side for a few years and tried that route. But I must admit that my passion is life insurance. That's where I feel like I can serve the clients best. So a little bit about when I started out, I had no experience in sales. Honestly, how I even got my insurance license, I was working for an escrow company at the time, and one of the attorneys said, hey, you're going to get your life insurance license. And so I knew that people bought life insurance, especially when they were buying a new home. So it sounded like a winning idea to me. So I got my life insurance license, and within a year I had gone over to insurance full-time, because I started out just selling part-time. But I fell in love with the business, and it has afforded me so many opportunities over the last 10 years that I would not have had it not been for a career in insurance. My dad got sick in 2011, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and because of my career in insurance, I was able to never miss a doctor's appointment, chemo, or radiation. And hey Bruce, good to have you. I never had to miss any of his treatments, and I was able to spend the last 2 months of his life with him, taking care of him. And so I'm extremely thankful for the industry that we're all in here, and know that there's some really good people and a lot of needs that need to be served. So according to some research that I did, 59% of individuals between the ages of 65 and 69 and 49% a little older than that, they all have a smartphone. So honestly, if we have that kind of access to people online, we need to be utilizing it and taking advantage of it as far as generating leads. And so they are tech savvy somewhat, so that has become less of a problem for us. So selling online is becoming easier and easier for us every day because more people have access to for us to get in front of. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to selling online is making sure that we have built a connection with our client or potential client. And it's just like when we go into a home, if that's the type model that you run where you actually go into people's homes, that first few minutes is about that connection and building that rapport with the client, because without that rapport and that connection, that whole sales appointment is going to be tough because people buy from those that they know, like, and trust. And so there's no difference whether we're in person or whether we're online, that we've got to build that know, like, and trust factor. And we have to build it a little stronger when they can't actually look us face to face. So that is where our content marketing comes into play so well, is that if we're utilizing content marketing so that they can get to know us a little better, we're already growing that know, like, and trust factor. When I started actually doing some reaching out to people, it felt so awkward to me until I realized. I can remember when I had the realization, I was sitting at my desk and I was like, this is no more than my warm-up in an insurance appointment. I mean, I can look at these people when I'm going into their messenger, or however I'm initiating contact with them, just like when I walk into a home and I look around for something to connect with them on, whether it be their family or what they do for a living or what they might like to do for fun. So I can do that same thing online, especially if we have access to their Facebook profile or their Instagram, where we can have a little insight into their life. It really makes it easy for us to connect with them because we can use their wall just like it's the walls of their home, and we have something to connect with them over. So that is my first suggestion or tip when it comes to selling online, is that we make sure that we're building a genuine connection with our potential clients and really getting into rapport with them. And I mean, you might say, well, Andrea, I'm like written. How can I get into rapport with them? You can mirror and match them to build rapport. I do it all the time in my communications. I mean, if they're responding short, you respond short. You match what they're doing, so that you can build that rapport with the client. The second thing that I really want to talk about is using stories. And I've done another live training on stories because stories are just so phenomenal when it comes to us selling, whether it's in person or online, because stories actually appeal to the unconscious mind. And I think it was last week or that I talked about how we would think that stories would be more for the imaginative side of the brain, but really it's that side of the brain where we have logic. And so when we start to use stories, it appeals to the unconscious mind, like I said. And so these stories tend to spark emotions. And we know that people buy off of emotion and they justify their purchase through logic, right? And so we want to evoke as much emotion as we can. And if we can use stories to do that, that makes our job a whole lot easier. And we're opening up that unconscious mind to get in to them so that they'll make a buying decision. So people buy based on two things. They're either trying to move away from pain or they're trying to move towards pleasure. When I got my insurance license, it was about moving away from pain. I was working so many hours and I was missing my daughter growing up, and I didn't want that anymore. And so that was why getting my insurance license appealed to me, was that I did have the opportunity that I could take back some of my time and control a little bit of my schedule so that I would never have to miss anything if I chose not to. So you can see that I was moving away from pain. When I bought my latest car, it was because my old car broke down on the way home from a soccer tournament, and I ended up being on the side of the interstate. So, like, it wasn't about pleasure for me. It was about moving away from that pain of being fearful that my car was going to break down. And so when you start to look at any decision that you make, you'll realize that you're either trying to move away from pain or towards pleasure. And so, I don't really know many people that are just like really find pleasure in buying insurance. So chances are they're wanting to move away from the pain that it would cause if they remained uninsured. And so your job as the agent, online or in person, is to really identify what that pain point is. Get a clear understanding of where their current situation is, what the pain is for them. And then you're going to really agitate it and make them feel that emotion around that pain. Because if they're here with no coverage and they're concerned about they're going to be a burden to their children, and you're trying to get them to where they have coverage, you can see there's a gap there. And obviously your policy is the solution to fill that gap. And so it's a three-part process. So you want to identify where they're at currently, get that pain, agitate it, and then offer a solution to it. And stories are a great way to do that, because people typically don't buy because they have an objection. And last week we really dove into why people had objections. A lot of times it's because they may not trust you, and you haven't built enough rapport and built that trust, or it's a belief system issue for them, that you're challenging their belief system, and so like the fear center of the brain is throwing up that warning for them. Disbelief that what you say that policy can do really won't do, or they might have heard of people that bought a policy and it didn't pay out, or when they filed a claim it didn't go as well. So there's some disbelief there, or there's fear of change, fear of the unknown, because anytime that we're stepping into something that we're not familiar with, we're going to experience some fear. Fear is not a bad thing. Fear is what we were given to protect us. So something as small as going from uninsured to insured can be fearful for some people because it's that unknown territory. And the uncertainty of what's to come, like what if I can't afford it? What if this? What if that? All that uncertainty that we have going on inside of our minds can cause us to lose a sale with with a client. So again, back to, if we can incorporate stories into our presentation, or even into our marketing content, when we can share stories that will help our potential clients overcome those objections, that disbelief, that fear, or that uncertainty, we're going to be more successful online. So to me, like, you have to start depositing into this tank that they can pull from when the time comes, when you come to the point that you're actually talking to them about a solution. So a 5-step storytelling framework that you can use, it's a really simple one, is that you introduce someone to them, like in the story. So say it's Joe, you meet Joe, and Joe had the same problems that they had. Maybe, there was some fear, and he tried all these other things. A lot of times it might be fear that they're going to be turned down because they don't think their health is good enough. If you're dealing with life insurance, or if you're dealing with PNC on auto, maybe their driving record's not good, and it's that fear that they're going to be rejected, and no one likes that fear of rejection. So you may tell a story about that you had a client that had some really serious health and conditions, but you were able to find them coverage. They had tried and applied or looked at other companies, and you were able to get them coverage, and how he felt after he was protected. So that's a great story framework you can use. You introduce the character, for lack of a better term. You talk about how they had the same problems, what they went through, and the realization, that aha moment, and what it was like now for them. So when we talk about the sales process, and we're having conversations online, and we've built that rapport, and we are connected with the clients, now we want to identify what the problem is for them. And I touched on this earlier. You want to identify where they're currently at and what their problem is. Are they without coverage? Are they paying too much for the coverage? Do they not have the right kind of coverage? What is their problem right now? What is their pain point? And where are they trying to go? So you see that you have that gap. Now, do you have the solution to fill the gap for them? That's your job to find out and see and offer that solution. So you really want to drive home and get a clear understanding, ask quality questions on why they're where they are, how did that happen, just really get a clear understanding of their current situation. Really agitate it, make them feel the feelings that come with it, and then move them on towards the life with your solution by offering them a solution. Another thing that I think that as agents we have to understand and come to realize is that selling isn't bad. And I don't know that everybody feels that way consciously, but our society puts such a bad stigma on sales. I mean, when in movies, on television, you see so often, like when the insurance salesman is sleazy or the used car salesman is sleazy, and that we have such a negative belief system around sales. And whether we realize it or not, it's in our unconscious mind because our belief system is formed early on in life. So if that belief system is there, whether we grew up in a family that talked bad about salesmen, I mean, because for me, I know that like my insurance agent came door to door every month to collect my mom's payments. And so like, you know, hearing things that she may have said about the agent, that creates my belief system around sales. And so we have to realize that sales is not bad. Sales is actually serving our potential clients. And it's our obligation, if we have a valid solution for the potential client, that we offer them that solution, that we pitch them, that we offer them policies or the opportunity to apply for a policy. And that sometimes takes some work on our mindset, on our belief system, to overcome that challenge of thinking that sales is that we're being pushy or we're being aggressive when we try and actually offer a solution to their problem. So, but when we do offer some solutions to the client's problems, we want to offer limited solutions. I know in the past that I wanted to make sure that I was offering the client the absolute best choice. And I would find that I was offering too many choices. And even though we think that we want lots of choices, when we're offered too many choices, we freeze up and we have this fear of making the wrong decision. And so then we don't make a decision at all. We don't make a buying decision. They don't make a buying decision. I mean, the same thing can go for you as an agent. When you're deciding on your pitch and what policy you're going to pitch them, like if you have too many options, it can sometimes cause you to freeze up because you don't know which one to choose for them because the fear that you're going to offer them the wrong policy. And so lots of options is not always a good thing. Having lots of carriers isn't always a good thing. Obviously, you want to be able to insure anyone that comes your way if possible. But just trying to contract with every carrier, it can overwhelm us as agents. And if you're really in the business of trying to serve the best you can, like, it can cause you to overthink it and not make as many offers as you need to because you're worried about making the wrong one. Perhaps I am the only one that has ever done that in the business, but it's something that I have to continuously work on, is making sure that I am just offering a solution and not overthinking it and trying to nitpick it to make sure that, that is the absolute best policy out there. And so sometimes fewer choices for the clients are a better opportunity for them. So I typically, and I'm sure you can comment in the comments how you do yours, but I typically would make a pitch of 3 prices when I'm pitching life insurance. So let me know how many offers you make when you're running appointments. So just understanding that when we have constraints on us and we start trying to offer too much, it's not a good situation to be in. So keep it simple on your policy pitch, whether you're online or in person, and don't try and overcomplicate it. You found their pain point. You know you can help them with a policy. Now give them a couple of offer options and let them decide. Try and make it as simple as you can for the client. The last thing that I want to touch on before I wrap up is making sure that you're organized when it comes to running, trying to sell online, because people are impatient and people are busy. And so if you're talking to someone and you don't have everything that you need, you're going to increase your chances of losing the sale, because people when they want to buy, they want to buy, and they don't want to wait on you to have to try and figure out what is the techniques for writing a policy online. Do you send them an email? Like, how does that carrier handle it? You need to have practiced it and taken a look at it prior to you trying to sell online. So just wrapping up and to recap what we went over today, the biggest thing is about building a genuine connection with your potential clients online. You can do that through your content marketing. If you're using content marketing, you can do it through your Facebook ads if you're using Facebook ads for lead gen. If you are just taking a cold lead that you bought from a third-party lead vendor, then it's going to take a little more to build that connection. I would recommend that you do a face-to-face, like a Zoom or FaceTime or something, so that you can see each other and read off of each other's their facial expressions. You can gauge by sensory acuity. You want to identify where your client is and where they're trying to go, so what their pain point is and what they're trying to accomplish. And if you have a valid solution, then it's your obligation to offer that solution to them. And we typically lose sales because of a few things. They have an objection because maybe we haven't built that genuine connection yet or enough rapport, or their belief system is being challenged. They have some disbelief around what we're offering and whether it'll actually work for them. And there's fear, maybe fear of change, fear of it not fitting into their budget. There's some type of fear there, or there could be some uncertainty. But one of the greatest ways to overcome or address those 4 things is through storytelling. You can tell a story and tap into that unconscious mind, because that's where the emotion is, and that's what we're trying to really get to, is the emotion. People are always trying to move away from pain or towards pleasure, and when you can identify what they're trying to accomplish, then you can really nail in your sales presentation. But chances are, when it comes to some type of insurance, it's going to be moving away from pain. And don't overwhelm your clients with too many choices. Giving them limited choices is going to be much more efficient for your sales. So I want to invite you, if you haven't already signed up, for the free workshop that's starting Monday at 10 a.m. It is going to be here in the group. Every day at 10 I'll go live with a Facebook Live, and you can catch the replay anytime during the day. All that training will be here until Tuesday the 30th at midnight, and then I'll be taking it down. So if you haven't signed up, you can go to ProfitableAgentWorkshop.com and sign up for the workshop. And I have some really good topics that I'm going to be covering each day, starting off on the first day with the top marketing mistakes agents make that may be costing them thousands of dollars. And I'm going to really dive into some marketing mistakes that insurance agents are making, and it's leaving money on the table for them, and how they can correct those mistakes. We're going to be talking about organic lead generation. We're going to talk about goal setting and becoming the agent that you need to be to achieve your goals. We're going to talk about why you may not be showing up and being visible in your marketing, and ways to overcome that. And I forget what we're going to be talking about on that 5th day. It's something good, but my mind just left me. I've been working nonstop getting everything together for the workshop, because I want to add as much value as I can. So if there's something in particular that you're hoping to learn from the workshop, be sure to drop it in the comments and let me know, and I will see if I can add it into one of the days, because I do want to be of value. Also, I've already started, a lot of y'all commented yes on wanting a custom game plan, and I've started working through some of those. We'll be in touch with you so we can try and figure out where you're at currently in your business, so we can see what the best options are for you. And so be looking for my message in Messenger. If we're not friends, it might go to that hidden folder that we don't always see. So be watching for that in the next few days. I have started scheduling some chats with some people, and I'm so excited about that. So hope you guys have a great Thursday. Share this with anyone that you might think that could find some value in it, and invite them to join the free group here. And I will see you all on Monday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for the first day of the workshop. And I am so excited and can't wait to get started. Have a great weekend.